First of all, I want to thank Councilor David Thune for working with the Move to Amend volunteers to bring this resolution forward. My impression is that we passed this resolution unanimously. And I want to thank everybody who showed up, Representative Ellison, of course, Bobby Casper from the Union Federation, Jack Nelson Pallmeyer. It's a great honor. We'll get through everybody eventually. Here's my little speech, and then we'll move on. This is from the good book, Luke 16:13. No servant can serve two masters, for he will either hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. The major political parties have been infiltrated by big moneyed interests. Move to Amend is truly nonpartisan. Though most of our supporters affiliate with certain parties, Move to Amend wants to work with everyone, as long as they fall into basic agreement with the goals of Move to Amend. We will work with libertarians, Greens, Democrats, independents, and principled Republicans. Only through a nonpartisan approach can we actually garner the sort of support and the groundswell of support to pass a constitutional amendment prohibiting corporate personhood. Simply put, our goal at Move to Amend is to assert that only natural persons have constitutional rights. Only natural persons should be entitled to constitutional rights. As Move to Amend spokesperson David Cobb says, if you've got a belly button, then you're a person. Go ahead and check. Corporations, nonprofits, and labor unions do not have belly buttons. When we, the people, control politics, the goals of principled organizations like labor unions will be empowered. The goals of the Koch brothers and Goldman Sachs and BP will lose power when we, the people, have it. Move to Amend volunteers are leading by example all across the country. In St. Paul, Minneapolis, Duluth, and Grand Rapids, we're door knocking, we're phone banking, we're holding public events and rallies, we're meeting with elected officials, as we did here with City Councilor David Thune. We volunteer, our efforts, our precious time we volunteer to help end corporate personhood. We have decided to organize, and I want to thank everybody, and I want to encourage everybody to get involved in our grassroots efforts. This is not about people who are considered elites. This is about all of us. Together we can overcome the system that is broken. Now I'd like to introduce Paul Carlson, and followed by Paul Carlson will be Bobby Casper.
Thank you, Nathan. That's awesome. Thank you, Nathan, for all his great work for Move to Amend, especially our St. Paul area. You know, we're surrounded by some awesome volunteers here, and we're also surrounded by the names engraved on the walls of this memorial here in St. Paul City Hall. In this Ramsey County building, we have the names of soldiers who've died for democracy. And I ask if you're willing to at least volunteer for democracy, because right now, I'm not sure we really have democracy. When big money is in the ears of our politicians, they don't hear the voice of the people. I'd like to offer our Move to Amend proposed 28th Amendment to the Constitution. We're going to change the rules of the game. Thank you. First of all, a reason why it's important for us to talk about our version of the amendment is because there are other amendment versions out there that are weak and have loopholes. Move to Amend's amendment is airtight and has no loopholes. There are 3 sections, and I'll go through them quickly. It just takes 2 minutes. The first section says, a corporation is not a person and can be regulated. The rights protected by the Constitution of the United States are rights of natural persons only. Artificial entities, such as corporations, limited liability companies, and other entities established by laws of any state, of the United States, or any foreign state, shall have no rights under the Constitution and are subject to regulation by the people about federal, state, and local law. The privileges of artificial entities, those of us who do not have belly buttons, shall be determined by the people through federal, state, and local law, and shall not be construed to be inherent or inalienable. Section number 2, you'll like this. Money is not speech and can be regulated. Federal, state, and local governments shall regulate, limit, or prohibit contributions and expenditures, including a candidate's own contributions and expenditures, for the purpose of influencing in any way the election of any candidate for public office or any ballot measure. Federal, state, and local government shall require that any permissible contributions and expenditures be publicly disclosed. And this is important because right now, anybody from anywhere in the world can hold the strings of our politicians. That means we are not a sovereign state. When money can control us from outside of our borders, we need to take our government back. Now, the judiciary should not construe the spending of money to influence elections to be speech under the First Amendment. Section number 3, nothing contained in this amendment shall be construed to abridge the freedom of the press. Finally, let's legalize democracy. Let's unplug big money from our politicians' ears. Let's be here. Let's be heard. Let's be heard. Let's move to amend, move to amend, move to amend. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I mentioned this. My name is Nathan Ness, and I'm the statewide organizer for Move to Amend. I get paid 10 hours a week, and the rest is volunteer time. It's a labor of love. You should see the slum apartment I live in. Anyway, actually, I want to also tell a little brief history about how this resolution first came to be. Move to Amend held a rally up in Duluth. Charlotte Gardner of the Duluth City Council spoke at this rally, and there she promised to introduce our resolution in the Duluth City Council. It passed there, and afterwards we approached David Thune. And thank you, David, for working with us. On Friday, we have a vote with the Minneapolis City Council. After that, our good friend Laird Beaver, who's a volunteer with Move to Amend, he's going to continue approaching the Edina City Council, so how cool would that be? Yeah. Next, I'm going to invite up Bobby Casper, who is the president of the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation here in St. Paul. So, Bobby.
How's everyone doing today, right? Good. Pretty amazing building, don't you think? Yes. Well, let's talk about that. Who built this building? Did corporations build it? No. It's workers. It's we the people. We the people fill the hotels and have hotel workers. We the people have the teachers that instruct the students. We the people have the government and public employees. We the people built the railroads. We the people built the industries. We the people built this country to what it is. It's not about the corporations. The corporations need to wake up. They're outsourcing our jobs. They're selling us short. They're selling us down the road. The industries have dried up in this country because they forgot about we the people. We the people, how proud we are, how proud of what we've done, from the stonework to the statues to the roadways to what we've done in this country. It's a joke when they think about corporations of people. I take it to heart when I saw my father come home every night with his hands cut up working as a union iron worker, and how proud I was to see what he'd done. What is it going to take for this country? For every industry to dry up, for every job to dry up, for them to outsource everything we have? They talk about tax base and infrastructure. They sell us down the line. The lobbyists and the PAC fund money that's outsourced and influenced to sell us down the line is a travesty. And we need to all get involved. It's that important. if you're proud to be an American and you want to be patriotic, we need to protect American jobs, an American way of life. All I can tell you today is thank you for letting me come, and we the people.
Thank you, Bobby. Over the last semester at the University of Minnesota, we had three dedicated interns working with Move to Amend. And let's face it, the youth are troubled by the mistakes that we've made in the past. I'm still young, I guess, 31. But the young people who are even younger, the ones who are graduating from college now, they're looking at the future, and it doesn't look good. I want to thank Elena Waxy. Elena, come on up here. She's been a dedicated volunteer and intern with Move to Amend, and now she's going to give you a few words.
Hey guys. All right, so like Nathan just said, my name's Elena Waxy, and I'm going to admit I don't understand all the ins and outs of corporate personhood. Like, after numerous hours researching on my own and at political science courses at the University of Minnesota where I'm a student, there's still aspects of this issue that make my head spin. But I refuse to believe that just because I'm not a constitutional scholar or an attorney, that my voice shouldn't be heard. And that's why I chose to get involved with Move to Amend, because I think that major change can occur when we unite and start local. By using grassroots organizing techniques like door knocking and phone banking, Move to Amend works to empower the community by giving everyone an opportunity to participate and showing how everyone can make a difference to end corporate rule and legalize democracy. But we have to realize that democracy means participation even if you're not an academic or a member of society's elite. It means getting involved in grassroots organizations in your own community. It means coming to City Hall on a Wednesday afternoon to show your local representatives what issues are important to you. It means not giving up, even when you're working to change a systemic problem that seems larger than life, because sometimes this idea of corporate personhood seems too big to fail. Growing up, I was told I lived in a country where my voice could count for something, and that going to the voting booth was an act of asserting my voice. But when the Supreme Court ruled that corporations had the same free speech rights as me, they diminished my voice. Because I, unlike Goldman Sachs, don't have $1 million to give to the Obama campaign. And now my vote means little. So what does this all mean for the average citizen who has little involvement or interest in our political scene? It means our government is tethered to the corporations that fund them. It means the policies that shape our daily life are developed with capital gain rather than societal good in mind. It means big banks are getting bailed out while my generation struggles with unprecedented amounts of student loan debt. And I can't afford a lobbyist. I can't afford to hire someone to make sure that higher education is more affordable. I can't afford a lobbyist to protect my reproductive rights or my human right to clean water. Yet I can afford to get involved. I can afford to speak up. I can afford to spend time coming to City Hall, telling my local representatives that civil rights belong to the people and corporations aren't people. And that's democracy. A democracy that can't exist in the first place unless we as citizens assert our rights. Because as Wellstone said, this is no time for timidity. This is a time to stand up. This is a time to take back our voice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elena. Next up is Councilmember Melvin Carter. Thank you again for your support of this resolution.
Thanks, Nathan, and everybody else for being here today. This is an important conversation that we're having. Where's the young lady who just spoke? If you don't understand corporate personhood, it's because it makes no sense. It has nothing to do with your background in constitutional law. You sound like you get it. It makes no sense whatsoever. We're here today, and we're standing with countless other cities, countless other people around the country today and this week to stand up and ask Congress strongly to correct what was probably the worst decision in Supreme Court history, that's Citizens United. We're asking our Congress to stand up and say, you know what? Democracy is ruled by the people. And I like what I heard somebody else say earlier, that people have belly buttons. Corporations are not people. Money is not speech. And we need to make sure that we protect our democracy by making sure that people with blood flowing in their veins, people who breathe, people with a heartbeat are those who get to shape the form of our democracy, the form of our country, the form of our cities and states around this country.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be joined by the unanimous City Council, and I see Amy Brindmo in there. I think I saw Chris Tolbert down here a little bit earlier, and certainly Dave Thune will be speaking. Thank you, Dave, for authoring and bringing forward this resolution. And thank you to everybody, because this is going to happen not because a few elected officials said it ought to happen, but because we the people, in the same great country that built this nation, the same great country that established the greatest Constitution and the greatest Declaration of Independence that exists, because we the people, the 50%, 70% some of American voters who support amending the Constitution to fix what went wrong with Citizens United, because we the people are going to join together and make sure that we speak loudly and say, I am a person, these corporations are not people, but we are. As important as they are not part of the we the people for whom and by whom this country was established. Thank you very much. Look, I am pleased and honored that we're joined today by one of our champions from across the river, the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and a champion for all good things, Representative Keith Ellison.
You know, I want us all to put our hands together for the St. Paul City Council. You know, you all restore my faith. You are proof, you're evidence that there are bodies of government, elected public officials that are responsive to the people. The people came to you and they said, we want you to say that in St. Paul, we think there needs to be a constitutional amendment that says that people are people and people have constitutional rights and corporations don't and can be regulated. And the St. Paul City Council came together and they declared that just a few moments ago. I was so proud to see it. Tomorrow, the Minneapolis City Council will do the same thing, and we're looking forward to cities all over Minnesota do it, as cities are doing it all over the United States of America. New York has done it. Los Angeles has done it. I'm told that Duluth has done it. And there are many more coming because this is Resolution Week, and people are galvanizing their energy all over. You know, we need a massive turnout of energy from across the United States, from people of diverse backgrounds, but who are united on the simple idea that people have constitutional rights, corporations do not and can be regulated, and that speech is the purview of the person, not the corporate entity.
Isn't the government a corporation? Isn't the City of St. Paul a corporation?
The fact is, you know, we're gonna have that discussion.
The City of St. Paul
Let him speak.
So look, the fact of the matter is, folks, is that we have come together. We're going to have a grassroots movement. We need the labor community standing with us. We need small business. We need teachers. We need people who are doing all types of things all over this nation. We need to make sure that this is a multiracial movement, many faiths, many cultures. We've got to reach out, because in order to pass a constitutional amendment, to amend the Constitution, it's not easy, but I believe our superior numbers will overwhelm their corporate dollars, but only if we hang together and commit ourselves to this great end. So, thank you. Thank the St. Paul City Council. We're on the move. We're going to amend. Thank you very much.
Up next is one of the greatest men I've ever known, a man of outstanding courage and integrity, one of my favorite authors, the author of Authentic Hope. It's the end of the world as we know it, but soft landings are still possible. He is also the leader of the Minnesota ASAP. I'd like to introduce Professor Jack Nelson Pallmeyer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, first off, thanks to the St. Paul City Council for recognizing and acting on the need to deny corporate personhood and to end the fiction that money symbolizes free speech rather than the end of our democracy. So thank you to the St. Paul City Council. I'm here to call attention to just one aspect of the money-driven, distorted politics, and that is the distortions related to the corporate power embedded in the military-industrial complex itself. Eisenhower, a Republican president, in his last speech to the country, he warned us that our democracy was being undermined because of the corrosive influence of the military-industrial complex. He also was warning us that military spending levels and even future wars would be fought for profit and power, not for the security interests of the United States. Now, these concerns overlap precisely with Move to Amend. Consider that last year, the defense industry in the United States spent $131 million lobbying Congress, and they devoted nearly $23 million to buy the votes of Congress. Lockheed Martin led the way. Lockheed Martin spent $15 million lobbying and got $40 billion in military contracts. Keep in mind that it was Lockheed Martin and other corporations that lobbied hard in favor of the Iraq War and that they have profited enormously. The top 10 government contractors in this country are all military defense contractors. That is why 59 cents out of every dollar that Congress spends and votes on goes to the military security. Well, so-called military security. Next year, the government of the United States will spend more money on the Afghan war than the entire food stamp budget for 146 million Americans. And now the Citizens United decision has led to the creation of dummy organizations that can receive unlimited funds as a cover for the military industries that benefit and profit from illegal, immoral, unjust, unnecessary wars. Consider for a minute how the military-industrial complex determined spending priorities affects the citizens of Minnesota and more specifically, the residents of St. Paul. How many people do you know that Minnesota taxpayers have spent $38.5 billion just for our share of Iraq and Afghanistan? How many St. Paul taxpayers know that their city, that their taxpayer base in St. Paul has spent $1.6 billion just for their share of Iraq and Afghanistan, including over $151 million this year alone? Now think about this. If we were to fund the Department of Defense at the obscene levels of the Cold War only, because that base budget has doubled since the collapse of the Soviet Union. So if we were to fund them just at the Cold War level, and if we were not to pay for the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, the St. Paul City Council every year could have $500 million available to improve the living standards for people in the city of St. Paul. If we want to reclaim our democracy, we need to end the fiction of corporate personhood. We also need to not avoid, or we shouldn't avoid, the elephant in the room, which is the most powerful corporate lobby in this country, which is the military-industrial complex. Please join our efforts, which I see as a complementary effort with Move to Amend. It's called the Minnesota Arms Spending Alternatives Project, or Minnesota ASAP, as soon as possible. We have to make this transition away from militarization and war so that we can fund, so we can fund pressing needs. I'm hoping the next resolution that goes before the City Council in St. Paul and in communities all over this state will be the resolution calling for a shift in resources and priorities away from militarization and war to meeting the pressing needs of our community. Thank you.
Yeah, MinASAP is an outstanding organization, and I would say that the organizer for that group is rivaling the organizer for this one, I would say. Next up is the attorney, Rachel Lang. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. My name is Rachel E.B. Lang. I'm an attorney. I live and work in St. Paul, and I'm a member of the National Lawyers Guild, which was founded in '37, and its purpose is to ensure that human rights are held more sacred than property interests. Since 1886, courts in the United States have been recognizing corporations as people just to make doing business more convenient. Fast forward 125 years, and now any group of people can pool their money together as a corporation and enjoy the freedom to spend as much money as they want on advertisements for or against any political candidate or measure under the First Amendment. The Citizens United decision has given us the best democracy money can buy since 2010. Big business no longer has to limit spending in any political season. As long as they launch their own campaigns and don't donate directly to any candidates, companies can say whatever they want in the media about ballot measures or people running for office. If they're rich enough, they can run their half-truths and spin ads again and again. As a participant in both the Occupy Wall Street and Occupy Homes movements, I have shouted that the banks, stockbrokers, financiers, and money changers cannot own our government, even if they have already mortgaged our futures. Homeowners and student debtors are standing up and demanding principal reductions and loan forgiveness to free us from our financial shackles. We taxpayers gave billions of dollars to prop up banks that have manufactured wealth for themselves in a house of cards housing market and then bet against the very homeowners that they had given the subprime loans to in the first place. 4 years after the bailout, mortgage rates reached another record low last week. The unemployment rate is still twice what it was before the collapse, and the middle class has been set back 20 years in their net worth. But the new CEOs of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we'll call them Timmy and Don, they say that underwater homeowners don't need to have their principals reduced. They think it's a great idea to keep spending taxpayers' money to evict families from homes they have lived in for years because they can no longer afford to make payments based on pie-in-the-sky 2007 housing prices. This might have something to do with Timmy's last job as general counsel for Bank of America, or Don's 30 years working for JP Morgan Chase. Instead, Timmy and Don want to keep running interest rates into the ground, preventing anyone from earning much interest on their dwindling 401ks and savings accounts. Corporations do not speak like real people do. They cannot march in the streets, hold signs, vote, or chant. Corporations cannot occupy a public park, sidewalk, or plaza. They are legal constructs designed to accumulate wealth with utter disregard for the damage done to others. They are greed personified, and our laws make them that way. We are here today to say that St. Paul does not want greed choosing our representatives and our laws. Corporations cannot be pepper sprayed, handcuffed, or convicted of crimes. They cannot be executed or thrown in jail. Corporations are not people. Real people from all walks of life and the entire political spectrum have now banded together to stand up to these big banks and businesses owned by the top 1% of our society. We, the people, united as a movement, have taken the streets to say, we are the 99%, And we are the 99%. We are the 99%. And guess what, guys? There are no corporations in the 99%. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Rachel. She's part of a great project called Occupy Homes, as I think she mentioned, as is Martha Ockenfels-Martinez right here. Thank you, Martha. Next is Councilmember David Thune. He's the one that was willing to work with us, and he's a hero. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear a little heat in the room here. Some people that actually feel strongly about things, strongly enough to come out today, strongly enough to work to change something that went horribly wrong in this country. It's really appropriate, as someone else, or two other people actually mentioned, that we're in Memorial Hall here, a hall with the names of soldiers, sailors, men, women who have given their lives for this country. And I want to tell you, they gave their lives, their moms and dads gave their children. Not one corporation has ever died for this country. Whoa, yes. Never. And by that same token, not one corporation worries every morning that their child's going to get to school, that their child's going to be fed, that their parents or their elders are taken care of. Corporations don't care about that. It's people. And so I'm very proud to be here amongst people who care about other people, who care about the people who wrote the Constitution, who made this country what it is. And I'm so glad that people are finally willing to stand up. We've got a little ways to go to make a change like this, but you know, it's all starting right now, and the first step is going to culminate in November. So I hope all of us work terribly hard to set the stage for the move to amend to happen in this country. Thanks a lot.
I'm just going to say a couple of things, and then this rally is over. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I want to just highlight some of the great leaders that we have here with Move to Amend. I can't mention everybody, but Lauren DeGidio is our communications director with the St. Paul area Move to Amend. Chris Gordon is out there every other week on Snelling Avenue. I don't know if you've seen him holding up those banners, along with you know, others. Thank you. Thank you. We've got Paul Carlson. He's been doing a lot of our new media outreach. Thank you, Paul. Bernie Molitor and Robin Monahan, these are some of our educators. Robin Monahan walked across the country to raise awareness about ending corporate personhood with his brother Laird. So, got to recognize that. I don't have a lot to do with the Minneapolis Move to Amend, but Mark Halverson is doing great work over there, as well as Phyllis Roden. And we're really excited about Laird Beaver helping us out in Edina. That's a pretty conservative area, and it would be outstanding if we could pass our resolution there. Lastly, please visit www.movetoamend.org. Visit our local Minnesota Facebook group. That's about it. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. And yeah, thank you.